everything is content. It's a trend and a concept that gained traction over recent years. The idea behind this is that in the age that we live in the age of the internet, anything we do, anything we say, anything we think can be considered content and can be potentially shared and consumed by a wider audience. And with an increase in popularity with content creators and influencers, the lines between what is considered public and what is considered private, or what is considered content versus everyday mundane activity, and who is considered a content creator or an influencer versus other career paths, all of those lines have become blurred. And then there's the implications of a concept such as everything is content. The impact it might be having on our minds, on our relationships, our perception of reality, both as a creator or as a viewer. Has the pressure to constantly consume and create content become more intense? Whether you're like a self-titled content creator or not, has this pressure seeped into areas of our life that maybe it doesn't necessarily need to? From mundane things like cleaning your house to bigger things like how you navigate your career and how you progress in your career. These are the things that we're going to discuss, so buckle up. But first, please do subscribe. I have a goal. I want to get to 100k before my 30th birthday, which is in 4 months' time. So please, if you're not subscribed, which apparently 50% of you are not. If you're not and you do like this content, please do consider subscribing. It really helps my channel. It helps me reach that goal and I really appreciate it. Let's get into the video. For the sake of fully exploring the upcoming points, we're going to use the hypothetical context of someone who does adopt this everything is content mindset. They may be a full-time content creator, they may not. Either one works, but they film everything. They create edits of everything. They post what they eat, what they wear, where they go, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And it's not a positive thing or a negative thing. It's just the context that I've set so that we can explore a few points around the contentification of life. Let me know which one you identify with, if any. As always, comment your thoughts down below. This is just a discussion. Let's get into it. More content, less connection? Question mark? So, a writer in an article that I read by Psychology Today said this about capturing content for social media. They said, social media has turned life and its experiences into an exercise in narcissism. No matter what the experience is actually about, it becomes about you, the person who is living it. A concert is not about the music, a restaurant is not about the food, sporting event not about the sport, a funeral not about the loss. It's all about you, the doer, and what the event says about you. And it made me think, because on its own, I don't think there's anything wrong with capturing content from your life. Like capturing moments that happened in your real life. What you're wearing, what you're eating, where you're going. At the end of the day, I'm here experiencing the thing. So what's wrong with me capturing content in the moment that I'm experiencing so that that moment almost lasts forever, because now I have a forever memory in the form of a picture or a video. And let's not talk about the friends that complain about you capturing content, but then the next morning like, can you send me the picture? Let's not even get into that. But that conclusion, that snippet that I read from that article, this was prefaced by the writer telling a story of them going to a gallery with the child of a family friend, and that child was not interested in the art at all, which is fair enough. But the issue was that even though they weren't interested in the art, they kept asking them to take photos of them looking at the art. But when they were taking photos of them looking at the art, they weren't even looking at the art, they were just like taking a photo of them looking at the art. So that is the context that conclusion came from. So that's important to know. And I think we've all witnessed that. Like most of us have been in the club and seen or been that person that is, you see them taking a snap or something and they're like, hey. And then as soon as the phone goes down, they're like, face just drops. Or the amount, I can't even count how many restaurants have opened up with this whole Instagrammable aesthetic, like profiting off the fact that they know that we like to take content, and so their whole personality is that they're Instagrammable. The food is not great, but they're Instagrammable, and therefore people are going to show up. And it makes me question, in the spirit of making everything content, are we actually experiencing life, or are we shaping our experiences off the character of ourselves that we want people to see? Does that make sense? Like, are you actually living life? Are you actually experiencing like, this thing, I want to experience this thing? Or are you choosing experiences based off who you want the world to think you are? And even worse, does this idea then seep into our relationships. In a content age, are there relationships forming purely based on aesthetics or clouts? Tony Tone spoke about this in a TikTok video. She spoke about strategic relationships, and even though I think this was more geared towards like people wanting to progress in their career, they're in certain industries and building like sort of inauthentic relationships based on that, I think the same sentiment still applies here. Like, I think there are people out there who are trying to build relationships purely based on how they want their life to look, as opposed to building meaningful connections. And I guess the best example I can think of is people who maybe only want to hang out with pretty girls because they've got this pretty girl aesthetic that they want to live up to, and the friends that they would actually form, or the friends that they do already have, don't fit that aesthetic, and therefore they want friends who do fit that aesthetic. Or people who want to give off, I don't know, a rich persona, and therefore they only want to hang around other ballers. And it's like, it's the friendship. Are you forcing friendships based on how it looks and what it says about your life? Or are you actually building meaningful connections with genuine people who would make genuinely good friends to you? Food for thought. Content burnout. So the idea behind everything is content, I think it came from a wholesome place of wanting to reduce the overthinking that came with being a content creator or a professional in any capacity, or a business owner. I think it was there to encourage these people, these professionals, these business owners, whoever, to just create content out of what they're already doing, rather than thinking that they have to add a new arm to their business, a new layer, and overthink everything. And that advice is true. Like, there is literally an audience for everything. There's book talk, there's cleaning talk, there's crushing things with a machine talk, there's cleaning up your sidewalk with grass blowing machine talk. There's people who like watching cooking videos, there's people who like watching woodwork, jewelry making. There are teachers who want to see other teachers sharing how they teach. There are doctors who want to see other doctors doctoring. There are students who want to watch you study because it helps them study. Everything and anything can be content. But has the pendulum swung too far? Which seems to be the theme of every single video I do. Is it draining to have to constantly think about creating content? There are so many studies that show a correlation between posting content and high levels of stress, anxiety, depression. Posting content on social media, I should clarify. And it's not surprising, because opening yourself up in whatever capacity that much to strangers online is bound to come with some fear, some anxiety, just vulnerability, or feelings of just feeling exposed. The thing is, most jobs are stressful, and if you are treating content like a job, or if you're treating content like a marketing strategy for your job, for your career, for your life, for your profession, then I think to an extent you do have to accept that just like any other job, it's going to come with stress. It's going to require work, and work comes with stress. But here's the difference. In a traditional job, your job comes with work hours. It comes with a job spec, and that job spec hopefully has a clear remit. You won't find your boss telling you to write copy when you work in accounting, because those tasks don't fall into your remit. So even if content is your job or part of your job strategy, adopting that everything is content mindset removes all the boundaries that come with other forms of work. It removes the boundaries of work hours, job specs, remits. And so rather than having job stress from 9 to 5, you now have job stress 24/7, because everything you do can be considered content. So perhaps if you have fallen into this place of content burnout, again, if it's your job, if it's not your job, if it's just something that you want to or need to do, maybe adopting some of the values of a traditional job and giving yourself a job spec, giving yourself a remit, giving yourself work hours is the way to go. This will free you up from the anxiety of thinking that you have to film every single day of your life, and you have to post every meal that you eat, and you have to jump on every trend that pops up, and you have to jump into every drama, you have to respond to every think piece or opinion, because you've set your boundaries. And just like a new company, you might have to do everything at first. Like, you might have to just trial and error, but eventually you have to rein it in. Eventually you have to you just have to set those parameters of, okay, what is it that I'm actually talking about? What is it that I actually do have to document? What days do I have to work? What hours do I have to work, for the sake of your own sanity and for success? Because that's probably the smart thing to do anyway, if you're looking at it from a marketing point of view. I also think it's worth quickly noting that I think burnout can also happen from the viewer's point of view. Yes, the content creator will face content burnout, but I think the viewer can also face content burnout from viewing too much content. Like, what happens if you overconsume content made on social media that's supposed to portray people's supposed real life. Content that by nature is always going to look better than it actually was in real life. Even this video that you're watching is going to look better to you than it looked to me filming it, because I've paused already about 10,000 times. It's obviously up to us to regulate our content consumption, but I just think that's worth sprinkling in there. Content burnout, I think, can happen whether you're the content creator or the content consumer. Likes, shares, and anxiety. Another way that I think that we can look at this is in the way that it might alter the emotional energy that we exert as we navigate everyday life. The idea that everything is content can create FOMO. This idea that your life isn't as exciting if it isn't as contentable. Even though in reality, nothing is ever, rarely ever, as nice and sparkly as it is in the final edit when everything's been adjusted. And I know it sounds silly, but I think deep down it does this thing to people. Everyone has a beautiful stone shower in their bathroom, and everyone has matching appliances. Their nails are always manicured. Their gym classes are always dark and moody. All these things aren't necessarily a reality in our everyday lives. And so consuming this kind of content and seeing this kind of content, it can make us feel like we're the only ones whose lives aren't cute and aesthetically pleasing. Because everything is content, it might make you feel like everything has to be beautiful, forgetting that it is just that, it's content, it's curated content. And if we go even deeper, if everything is content, then that means everything can be commented on, because content is commented on. People like and comment and share and give their opinions on content. And so now the pressure that comes with the comments, that comes with the content is there. And if literally everything in your life is content, then everything in your life is going to be commented on, which is a lot. And it's not the natural way of doing life. And I think that's why you see quite a few people choose specifically what it is that they're going to share. Some people are more private than others. But I think even the most, I would consider myself quite an open book, but even I don't share my whole life. It might look, I think a lot of people, it might look like they share their whole lives, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're just not going to share. And I think that's because nobody can or should withstand an audience in every single area of their lives, right? That, yeah, that's a lot. Some people do it, and I think we've seen the results of people that do that share every single day of everything in their lives. And I just don't see an overall positive outcome to that. In conclusion, yes, everything and anything can be content, but whether everything should be content is a question that you have to ask yourself. At the end of the day, we shouldn't judge, and we don't have the right to gatekeep who can and can't create content and what they can and can't create content about. I don't think it's even worth getting annoyed about, because I think some people do get annoyed with it. Who are you to be sharing your day in the life? I don't care, blah, blah, blah. Why are people creating content? That's this stupid. If there's an audience for it, let them create it. I don't think it's even worth getting annoyed about, because when we deep it in the grand scheme of things that there are to be annoyed about in this life and in this world and in your day to day, that's somewhere at the bottom. And I think if someone's content does bother you, whether it's because it's something deep, like you're comparing yourself, it's making you insecure, or even something as simple as they're just annoying, you just don't like the sound of their voice, I think it's okay. It's okay to mute them or to unfollow them. It's okay. It's just social media. Regardless of whether content is your job or it's not your job, it's a hobby, whatever, I think you should ask yourself why you create content. And if you're satisfied with the answer, then there you go. That is the most important thing. Your answer could be revenue. It could be, this is a money maker for me. It could be a marketing strategy for your business. It could be that you have a passion to teach or share something. It could be a creative outlet, or it could simply be fun. I just enjoy it. I have fun. There's no other agenda. And if those answers satisfy you, then go ahead. Now, if the answer is more along the lines of, because everyone else is doing it, because I don't feel like I did anything unless I document it, or anything else that you just feel a bit uncomfortable with that answer, then you might have a problem. I also think it's very, very important for me to stress and express that popular or trending or common forms of content creation are not the only way for you to succeed in whatever it is that you want to succeed in. If you're a CEO, you don't have to be a public figure. You don't have to be a public figure that vlogs your day and vlogs the day in the office, a day in the life. If you're a makeup artist, you do not have to be on TikTok making cool transitions to the cool trending sounds and all this cool stuff. If you're a stay-at-home parent, you don't have to start a blog. You don't have to start a blog and document your kids. You don't have to give your kids an Instagram profile. In fact, there are success stories that sit outside of social media entirely. There are newsletters, which arguably are way more valuable than like social media followers. There are in real life experientials and events and groups. There is such thing as marketing outside of content creation for social media. Social media has not always been here. But even coming back to social media and content creation, there are people making uniquely individual content that sits outside of TikTok trends, that sits outside of vlogs, that are absolutely killing it in their field. And you may know nothing about their personal life. You might not even know what they look like. They don't need to adopt the everything is content idea because they know exactly what their content is and they know exactly what it isn't. They probably wouldn't even call it content. They might call it art or advice or film that just so happens to be posted on social media. And I guess technically, by definition, it's content, but it's not content in the way that we kind of see it now. But that's a conversation for another day. Those are my thoughts. It's neither a good or bad thing. You just have to decide whether it is good or bad for you specifically. Let me know what you think about that. Thank you so much for the comments on my previous video, the one about skinny trend being back, and I asked for you guys to share some of your experiences around like your relationship with your body. And oh my gosh, I mean, I knew you'd come through, but oh my gosh, like I thank you so much. So please do comment your thoughts on this one too. I feel like this video kind of links, not really, but kind of, if you like this style of this kind of conversation. I did a video called Am I Broke or Is Everyone Else Just Faking It, and it kind of talked about that whole comparison thing and watching other people's lives, etc. So if you haven't seen that video, please do check it out. As I said, I am trying to get to 100k before I turn 30. If you like this video, then please do subscribe, comment, like I said, like the video, share the video, tell your friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.